think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me?
No questions?
Why would you think that I would say Floyd?
That there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now. That's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
That's the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late.
Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fight.
Terence Crawford fired back at Floyd Mayweather's claim that he could beat him, answering with calm but unshakable confidence. Crawford declared that even if Mayweather were in his absolute prime, he would still defeat him. He explained that history will not only remember victories but also the courage to face every challenge, and he has always stood by that principle. Crawford stressed that no critic or fan can accuse him of ducking opponents, since he has consistently fought whoever stepped forward. With that same spirit, he hinted that if a Mayweather fight had ever been possible, he would never have avoided it.
Then he started going like this. Then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me this question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, but one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. I fought everyone that was available to fight.
Veteran boxing writer Dan Rafael gave his take on Crawford's career, arguing that the fighter has already done enough to cement his legacy forever. According to Rafael, Crawford no longer needs to prove anything inside the ring. He has already unified divisions, cleaned out opponents, and done so with a dominance rarely seen. Rafael believes that when a fighter reaches such a level, the goal is no longer about chasing every possible fight but about preserving a legacy and enjoying the recognition earned. In his view, Crawford's resume already exceeds the expectations placed on him, and his dominance against elite opponents ensures that history will place him among the greats regardless of what comes next.
What does a Terence Crawford do now? Like, what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that, maybe that ultimate chance, if he goes up again? And do you say, what do you do?
I don't quite. Yeah, I mean, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fans. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavides at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy's really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he can either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. For example, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, like fight of the year against Lester Martinez, candidate for fight of the year.
Crawford's overwhelming victory over Canelo Alvarez has ignited heated debates in boxing circles. Analysts and fans immediately began comparing his triumph with Mayweather's earlier win over Canelo. While Floyd beat a younger, less polished version of the Mexican star, Crawford dominated a far more experienced and seasoned Canelo. Some argue this makes Crawford's performance superior. However, Luke Thomas provided perspective, pointing out that Floyd was a superstar much earlier in his career, facing top-level opponents at a young age. Crawford's journey was slower, partly because poor promotion kept him away from the spotlight for years. Therefore, while Crawford's win may have been more emphatic, Thomas warns against placing him above Floyd historically, since timing, career trajectory, and circumstances matter in these comparisons.
This was a masterclass. One guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA, because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao, because he got these opportunities so late.
That's the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the turns in there. It's just insane.
Trainer Buddy McGirt praised Crawford's dismantling of Canelo as nothing short of total domination. From the opening bell, Crawford controlled every aspect of the fight, denying Canelo the chance to impose his usual aggressive style. McGirt insisted the performance was so one-sided that a rematch would be unnecessary, as the gap in skill and execution was undeniable. To him, Crawford's victory is the defining moment of his career, a signature win that stamps his name among the sport's legends. In McGirt's eyes, Crawford has nothing left to prove. The chapter is written, and the dominance over Canelo will forever stand as his crowning achievement.
Yes.
Like, what fight would they watch?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is, and you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those gold cards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, he did mention that, he's better than Mayweather. But, I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. I mean, he's fought everybody, he's did everything. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence fair and square, and he passed the torch. So you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. He fought Terence and nobody else would.
When comparing Crawford and Mayweather, many analysts point out that the difference lies in Floyd's mental edge. While Crawford's technical brilliance, his ability to switch stances, adjust mid-fight, and break down opponents is undisputed, Floyd's psychological mastery was on another level. Mayweather not only fought with his fists but also manipulated his opponents mentally, forcing mistakes and controlling the fight before it even began. This aura of psychological warfare is what many historians see as Floyd's ultimate advantage. Crawford may match him in skill, but Floyd's mental dominance is the factor that keeps him ranked just a step higher.
Hagler, Hearns. I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Like, I've seen all of those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that.
I see.
Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked, gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights, and he was arrow spin.
For years, Crawford's understated personality kept him from mainstream stardom. Unlike flamboyant fighters who relied on trash talk and theatrics, Crawford let his skills inside the ring speak for themselves. This approach earned him respect from boxing purists but limited his recognition among casual fans. Only after headline victories against Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez did the wider public begin to fully appreciate his greatness. Critics note, however, that this long overdue recognition comes late in his career. While Crawford may continue to add to his legacy, the chance to build a long-lasting mainstream profile is shrinking. Some wonder how differently his career would have been perceived had he been promoted properly much earlier.
How great he was. Canelo cemented him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their eras.
Mayweather has often been criticized for refusing to acknowledge the greatness of others, rarely admitting that legends like Muhammad Ali deserve higher historical placement than him. Now, with Crawford rising into similar conversations, Floyd's ego is once again under scrutiny. Crawford's decisive victory over Canelo has sparked debates that put him side by side with Mayweather in boxing history. For someone as protective of his legacy as Floyd, this is difficult to accept. Critics argue that Floyd thrives on being seen as the ultimate benchmark of boxing greatness, and any suggestion that another fighter deserves that same recognition bruises his pride. This has fueled the perception that Floyd cannot bear to share his pedestal, especially with Crawford's rise threatening his unique claim to greatness.
Puts him on par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. Very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter right now, many people are saying, hey, shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd is now has a fight coming up. I do believe it maybe in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in I believe this is going to be an exhibition.
Sean Porter shared insights from personal conversations with Crawford, focusing on the mindset that drove him. Crawford admitted that for years critics doubted his ability to compete at the very highest level. Instead of shying away, he embraced the challenge, determined to prove them wrong. His victories over Spence and Canelo were not only career highlights but also personal vindications, moments that silenced years of doubt and criticism.
Get close to him when you want to, not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry, I know this is bad production, but we gonna need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I'm thinking about Haiti right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better. Go ahead, Ant, go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man, me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but you mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, but I want to be great. Where'd that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So, of course, they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top and then.
Porter went on to highlight that Crawford's willingness to confront adversity is what separates him from many fighters. While others often pursue easier paths, Crawford deliberately sought out the toughest challenges, knowing that greatness comes from risk. This fearless mentality, Porter argues, is why Crawford now belongs in the all-time great conversation. His legacy will not only be defined by skill, but by his resilience, bravery, and relentless determination to test himself at the highest level.
All odds, because now this is a slap in the face to every person that ever wrote a bad article about me, about anything.
Probably the best fit of all.
And a lot of people get mad at me because I said, when it comes from pound for pound that I ever seen it in my lifetime, ever, I got Floyd, then I got you. They're like, well, what about blah, blah, blah? I said, this is who I seen. I seen Bud, I seen Floyd. I can't talk about what happened in the 20s and the 40s. I can talk about what I seen now. Do you feel like, Bud, you stamped your legacy and we're going to forever say, well, you could have beat this person, you could beat that person? You feel like you did it?
Of course, it's definitely going to be, it's already written in the history books. Yeah. Like before, everybody was already comparing me and saying things like that, but hold on. Yeah.
I don't pick up.
Okay. But now, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so now he proven himself with a bigger, stronger guy in his weight division that he was undefeated in, that he was undisputed in, you know? So those things like that, you know, you can't ignore.
Hey man, how do you allow people not to put their limitations on you? Because when I gave motivation last week, I told them about like how you motivated me to start my own company. And come out, I remember you being in my living in my kitchen, motivated me to start my own company. How do you allow no one else to put their limitations on Terence Crawford?
That concludes today's segment. Stay tuned for more.